Giri Govardhan Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today's verse is Canto 10, Chapter 85, and verse 21. And Shukadev Goswami is speaking here. And he says, Shukadev Goswami said, having heard his father's words, the Supreme Lord, leader of the Sattvatas, replied in a gentle voice as he bowed his head in humility and smiled. When everybody met at Kurukshetra, the people of Dwarka, the people of Vrindavan, those from Hastinapur, there were also great sages that came from the higher planets, and they gave a discourse. Vasudeva was asking them about religious life, and they explained how Krishna was God. And so when they returned to Dwarka, Krishna came as usual to offer his obeisances in the morning to his father, and Vasudeva was like, "Wait, you're not my son. I know who you are." And so there was a increase in distance, emotional distance, and a certain lessening of sweetness. And so here in the purport it says that Srila Jiva Goswami describes what Lord Krishna thought after hearing his father glorify him. Vasudeva has been honored with the eternal role of my father, something even demigods like Brahma cannot aspire for. Therefore, he shouldn't be absorbed in thinking of my godly aspects. Moreover, his reverence greatly embarrasses me. It was to avoid this very situation that, after killing Kamsa, I made a special effort to reinforce their pure parental love for me and Balaram. But now, unfortunately, the statements of these sages threaten to revive some of Vasudev's and Devaki's previous awareness of my majesty. So I'm going to give you here a quote from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It's in the first chapter, where Srila Prabhupada says, in general, attachment to Krishna is of two kinds. The first is attachment with awe and veneration, characterized by a lack of freedom. Such attachment is exhibited in Mathura and on the Vaikuntha planets in Dwaraka also, obviously. In these abodes of the Lord, the flavor of transcendental loving service is restricted. But in Gokula, Vrindavan, love is freely exchanged. And although the cowherd boys and damsels of Vrindavan know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they do not show awe and veneration because of the great intimacy of their relationship with him through thick and thin. And so in outside of Vrindavan, you have a greater knowledge of Krishna's position, appreciation for his greatness, say Aishvarya, and a greater appreciation for the difference between Krishna and his devotees, right? We're small, little, tiny angshas of Krishna, little portions of Krishna, and Krishna is everything. And so if truth be told, there's a huge, Prabhupada calls it a huge gulf of difference, sometimes he puts it, between the Lord and ourselves. And so when we realize that, there's naturally this feeling of Prabhupada says awe and veneration. There's, it's amazing, it's wonderful, but we also, have some respect and regard and do not feel such an intimate connection with someone like that. We realize that here is the Lord, and it's my job to worship him and to glorify him. And so in other places, especially like in Dwarka and Mathura, the primary connection is a very intimate one, but it's more reverential than in Vrindavan. But sometimes also they flip. And so this is what happened to Vasudeva. It also happened in the purport. It mentions that when Krishna killed Kamsa, so it was clear, that he kills all the wrestlers and pulls Kamsa off the from the grandstands and kills him. And so when Vasudeva and Devaki approach him, then it's with this awe and veneration. And Krishna, he speaks these little sweet words to him. He says, "Oh, he and Balaram, he says, we weren't very, very good children because we were afraid of Kamsa. We ran away to Vrindavan. We couldn't do anything, for your pleasure." And it changed them. It changed their mood and back to feeling that that here are my children. It says they took them on their laps, even though they were more grown, and smelled their hair, and brought back that parental mood. And so that's the situation in Dwarka and Mathura. That for the most part it's very sweet, but not quite as sweet as in Vrindavan. But then sometimes it switches. Something happens with them, and they switch into the more reverential mood. And in his Ragavartma Chandrika, um, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains this difference between the Brajvasis and the people of Dwarka and Mathura. And he says, because you notice Prabhupada says in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya that the Brajvasis, they know that Krishna is God at least some of the time. And he says Yashoda shows not a trace of decrease in her vatsalya, her parental affection, being consoled by the words of Nanda. This is he's speaking like after the lifting of Govardhan Hill. They were discussing who is this Krishna? How can he hold up the hill like that? The cowherd men were doing it, and Nanda Maharaj remembered how Garga Muni basically told him that Krishna was Narayan, and so he was telling that to Yashoda. I guess they were feeling that they were under great protection then if they understood that Krishna was Narayan. But it says that that Yashoda, unlike Vasudev, didn't switch into, and even Nanda didn't switch into the mode where Krishna is God, he's not my son. But she says rather her affection for her son became stronger. For joyfully she thought, it is fortunate that the Lord is my son. Not that he's not my son, he's God, but the Lord is my son. Similarly, in the material world, a mother's love for her son remains strong, though he is the master of the earth. As you're saying, so somebody maybe be the great king of every place, but the mother doesn't treat that person like a king. She treats him like her son. So this is how Mother Yashoda does. And the other residents of Vrindavan think similarly. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the cowherd boys think, we are fortunate that the Lord is our friend. The gopis strengthen their love, thinking, we are fortunate that the Lord is our lover. And in Srila Prabhupada, he gives a purport on Jaya Radha Madhava, which we sing before classes, and he gives a purport to that. This happened it's in July 1971 in New York, and Prabhupada says the whole residents of Vrindavan, they love Krishna. They do not know anything else. They do not know whether Krishna is God or not. Neither they are very much harassed that I shall love Krishna if he is God. He may be God, or he may be whatever he is. It doesn't matter. But we love Krishna. We love God, Krishna. That's all. That is called unalloyed love. And he goes on to say, if Krishna is God, then I shall love him. This is conditional love. It is not pure love. Krishna may be God or whatever he may be, but by his wonderful acts to Vrajvasi, they are thinking, oh, Krishna, he is very wonderful child. Maybe some demigod, maybe some demigod. So as the residents of Vrindavan, they love Krishna without any condition. Similarly, Krishna also loves them without any condition. And Prabhupada explains this mood again. There's a lecture on the Bhagavad Gita, and this is 1966 in New York, and Prabhupada says, everything is done. Everything is done so far our duties are concerned. There is a cause. I do this because I want this. So there is a cause and effect. But this sort of busyness, this sort of occupation, which leads you to the devotional service of the Lord, it has no cause. Ahoitiki, it has no cause. Why it has cause? Why it has no cause? Just like a lover, or say lover, beloved, he says set aside. He doesn't like that example as much. He says just like a mother loves her child. There is no cause. She does not know why I'm loving. Automatically she loves. So this is the basis for the sweet connection with Krishna that you see partially in Dwarka and Mathura, but wholly in Vrindavan. And this is sometimes called raga. And in the Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains it this way. He says, raga is defined as the tendency of the mind to become spontaneously attracted to an object immediately on seeing it without intellectual processing. Those who, as soon as they think of the Lord, become attracted in their hearts are worshiping the Lord according to raga. Prabhupada talks about that. Prabhupada uses the word a lot of times about spontaneity. So there's and in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada says his transcendental qualities are the causes of excitement. This means that a devotee who becomes enamored by the transcendental qualities of Krishna becomes excited to serve him. And this is the basis of the love of the intimate devotees, and the whole basis of those for the residents of Vrindavan, that Krishna just is. He's the most amazing and wonderful, and it just takes their hearts without, he says, like a Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, intellectual processing. It just happens. You can't stop yourself. And so they're not considering how that's beneficial to themselves, whether it is or not. Even, they don't care. When the flute blows and the gopis, leave aside their children and their families to go see them, they don't even care if it's according to Dharma. They don't even care if it's beneficial to them. They just can't. The Krishna is so attractive, their hearts go out to him fully, and there's no reasons behind it. That's what Prabhupada says. It's causeless. It only causes Krishna's attractiveness, and that kind of mood produces something beautiful. In Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu, he describes a little bit about Vrindavan here. He says, as the cool rays of the moon rejoice at the waxing phase of the moon, and the waxing phase rejoices at the cool rays. Right? That's when the moon is at its greatest. The people of Braja rejoiced because of Krishna, and Krishna rejoiced because of them. As much as the people desired to satisfy Krishna, Krishna desired to satisfy them. There was no difference in this. And so this hints at why Krishna is so much favors the sweetness and this particular type of relationship over the glorification. As the Supreme Lord, you might think that he would enjoy being acknowledged as that. But Krishna, unlike humans, he doesn't have an ego. He doesn't have insecurity. Right? So being praised, he knows he's God. He knows who he is. He doesn't need people to validate that, and especially little tiny beings, to validate his greatness. He's looking for something else. And Prabhupada, there was another lecture in 26th Second Avenue where he was mentioning to the people that God originally was one and became many, and he quoted the verse from the Upanishads, Eko Bahusham. He says we should understand this is why he did that. Why did the one become many? And he said because he's Anandamaya Vyasat, he's full with bliss. Right? And so with Krishna, and Prabhupada mentioned himself. He used himself as an example. He said, "I'm here." He was there at 26 Second Avenue in his apartment. He says, "I'm here every day." But on the days that they have public programs and people were coming, he says, "I'm so much happier." So he says, "We did it for his happiness." And so the reason why the sweet relationships are so nice as compared to the reverential ones, right, is that there, as I said, that it becomes reciprocal. Krishna is able to love. Because the whole situation about being one without a second is that it's lonely. And to have meaningful relationships is very difficult if everybody knows that you are so different from them. And then they just glorify you, and it's boring. He already knows his greatness. He wants to have company. He wants to have relationships. He wants to have connection. He doesn't want to be alone. And this kind of just you have all these other people now, but instead they're emphasizing how different you are from them. And so the loneliness remains, and the inability to express your heart remains. So in order for this to happen, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that not only do the devotees need to have Krishna's knowledge of his greatness go into the background and his sweetness come into the foreground, but Krishna needs to know that too, needs to do a similar thing. And so this is an interesting passage from the Raghavartma Chandrika. And he says that previously he says that when Krishna is in Vrindavan, he oftentimes is not aware that he's God. And so he asks the question, he says, how can the Lord, who is eternally knowledge and bliss in its highest form, have an eternal covering on his knowledge? I said, how is that possible? And so he explains, he says, in a similar way as avidya, the ignorance, the function of maya, the power of illusion, covers the knowledge of the jiva, the soul, in order that he experience suffering in samsara, or the cycle of birth and death. And just as yoga maya, a function of the chit shakti, the power of knowledge, covers the knowledge of Yashoda and others who are associates of Krishna, though they are beyond the gunas. This is a different kind of illusion. This is a spiritual type of illusion, in order that they experience the happiness of his sweet pastimes. So prema, the essence of the knowledge potency, covers Krishna's knowledge so that he can experience the greatest bliss, which is his very identity. He says, Svarupa, his very identity. He says, there is no fault in Krishna for such covering, since prema is his actual, is the energy of his real identity. So he gets a little technical here, but what he's saying is that that if Krishna wants to have a real relationship from his side, right, what he needs to do is he needs to allow his power of love to cover the knowledge of his own difference from the other beings. Right. So it says this is his prema, this is his identity, is to love to the highest bit possible. So really voluntarily, then he enters deeply into the sweetness of the relationship, forgetting his higher position. And that allows him to love his devotees with the same intensity that they love him. If he knows that he's so much different, see, it works both ways. If the devotees know that he's so much different, their love is reduced in some way, or it's made into this more reverential style. And the same thing for Krishna. If he knows that he's so much different than them, how can he feel like Yashoda is really his mother? He can accept their love, but how can he feel dependent upon her? How can he feel the same affection for his father? So it says he allows himself to be absorbed in the pastime. So the illusion that we have in the material world causes us to feel separate from Krishna and separate from our own selves, and causes us misery. The yoga maya that affects the devotees, right, draws us closer to Krishna, right, and it creates a greater love for Krishna. So it deepens the connection with Krishna. It causes us to be more connected with Krishna and have more bliss. And for Krishna, for him to enter into the sweetness of the relationship and to leave aside the at least constant knowledge of his superiority, allows him to have greater bliss. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he goes a little bit further, and he says, in any case, he says, the jiva, under the control of avidya, suffers. Krishna, under the control of prema, enjoys great happiness. One should consider that when Krishna is overcome with prema, it gives him a special type of happiness, just as the bee derives special happiness being covered by lotus petals. Okay? So the idea with Krishna is that love is the greatest connection, especially the more intense, the better, right? It's a higher connection than unity or homogeneous oneness, and it's the highest bliss. And so Krishna facilitates that in Vrindavan as Yoga Maya helps to allow the devotees to focus on his sweetness, and then his own prema allows him to focus on the sweetness of his devotees' love. He feels indebted to his devotees for their love, right? Because he enters into the sweetness. So this is the highest type of love there is, that's in Vrindavan. And so in the few minutes I've got left, I'm going to say something to you that may seem a little counterintuitive. if we want to have hope of having that kind of love for Krishna, it's important, to hear about Krishna's sweetness. Prabhupada mentioned how the impetus towards Krishna comes from his sweet qualities. But from the position where we stand right now, it may actually be at least as important. And this is what may sound counterintuitive, but I'm going to try to explain it a little bit quickly. That we understand a certain particular aspect of his greatness, and this comes from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya also. And Prabhupada says the word shama means controlling the mind and keeping it from being diverted in various ways while fixing it on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, one whose mind is fixed on the Supreme Lord is situated on the shama platform. On that platform, the devotee understands that Krishna is the basic principle of everything within our experience. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 7:19. He quotes this: after many, many births of cultivating knowledge, one who has attained real knowledge surrenders unto Vasudeva, Krishna, because he can understand that Krishna is present in everything, that he is distributed all over the cosmic manifestation. And that quote continues. He says, one who can fix his mind on Krishna without deviation, that's what he was talking about previously, attains Shanta Rasa, the steadfast position in Krishna consciousness. One in Shanta Rasa exhibits two main qualities: unflinching faith in Krishna and the cessation of all material desires. These specific characteristics of Shantarasa, unflinching, Prabhupada repeats it, unflinching faith in Krishna and cessation of all desires not connected with Krishna, are common to all other rasas as well. Just as sound is present not only in the sky, where it is produced, but also in all the other elements: air, fire, water, and earth. So this is interesting, that if we can understand, the omnipresence of Krishna, that he is here right now, then it says it produces the steadiness of remembrance of Krishna, right? And the remove of full faith, and removes all material desires. And so this and he says that not only is this obviously useful for us now, trying to advance in our sadhana, but it's an integral part of rasa in all the different levels. There's this knowledge of Krishna being, everything, and producing this peace and this faith and the lack of material desires. It's even underneath what the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan are feeling. It's in the background, but it's there. It's a fundamental aspect of being able to be connected with Krishna. And a simple thing you can say, that if we are to be attracted to Krishna's transcendental qualities, it's important that we be able to have some focus on that, right? In the condition that we are now, it says that Rupa Goswami says that the purpose of sadhana, right, is to always remember Krishna and not forget him. And so in the condition where we cannot understand Krishna's presence everywhere at all times, we are subject to forgetting Krishna. And having forgotten him, we're subject to not remembering him for some time, right? And so we feel Krishna's sweetness, and then we're disconnected. We feel Krishna's sweetness, and we're disconnected. We have that experience with the higher taste. Sometimes we feel the bliss from the higher taste, and then it seems to disappear when we forget Krishna. Yeah. And all the various deeply rooted things that we have in our psychology. We're here in this material world. We've been here for many, many lifetimes, and we feel that we're in a state of disconnection. We feel that we're in a state where we're lacking something. We're empty in some ways. And we also feel vulnerable. We're fearful. This is a natural situation. And so throughout our history in this material world, we have found things, grasped onto things. The Bhagavatam says they're fallible soldiers. We grasp onto things that have given us some feeling of temporary relief from being disconnected and empty, given us some joy, given us some feeling of connection. And those things remain dear to our hearts in some way. Sometimes, so the real strongest experiences from our previous lifetimes are imprinted right on the false ego, the ahankara. They become part of our identity. And then there are other things that have caused us suffering and made us feel unsafe and fearful, right? Those are the attachments and aversions that keep us here in the material world. And so as long as those things are powerful for us, we think, oh, we grasp on something we see separate from Krishna because it gave us relief and it's hard for us to let go. And we forget Krishna because of our desires. And then when something happens that triggers our fear and triggers our insecurity and triggers our trauma, we think, oh, that's not Krishna. And I run away from that. I forget Krishna again. So it's not a simple intellectual process to say that I can feel Krishna everywhere. Right? It's something that we have to work with, and we have to notice what draws us away from Krishna as a remembrance, and what pushes us away, like the fear pushes us away, and the attachments draw us, and then we have to look at that. And we have to look at that, and I think there's a couple of simple affirmations that may help us with Krishna. That we're not disconnected from Krishna. That's what it means. Yeah, Krishna's embarrassed. He doesn't want to be glorified. This is not what he likes, So yeah, but so he's so in that way, you know, we have to feel that Krishna is present, and he's our oldest and dearest friend. He's the one that cares for us the most, the one that loves us the most. So right now, in the situation we're in here in this material world, far away from Goloka Vrindavan, we are cared for and connected with Krishna to a much far greater degree than we're aware. And on the other hand, even though scary things happen, you see things, even scary things happen even in Goloka, but that we are much more supported and protected and sheltered than we have awareness of in general. Those two, and it's just true. Krishna is there. He's our well-wisher. He's our oldest friend. He loves us, and he's protecting us. We have shelter. Right? That we need. This is part of what's the word sharanam in 1866 means shelter. You can find shelter in Krishna. So when we don't feel sheltered, when we don't feel connected with Krishna, we think that Krishna is far away. That exacerbates the need for some other type of connection, the seeming need for some other type of connection, and it exacerbates our fear and worry. And so, some ways when we have strong things that take us away or push us away, again, we may not be able to just banish them just with a wave of our hands. Oh, Krishna is here, but we may need to bring that, feel what you're feeling, that desire or that fear, and consciously bring that notion of Krishna being there to that same moment, and see if that can begin slowly to calm that. And so when we right now when we forget Krishna for whatever reason, it's not a great thing, but it also is showing us something. It's giving us information. Here's the place where we don't feel sheltered. Here's the place where we don't feel connected and loved. Here's the place. And so if we can do that, and if we can begin to digest some of these things, right, and begin to feel Krishna's presence everywhere, then we don't forget him. And when we forget, and if we do, we remember him again quickly. And that way, the connection with Krishna is allowed to deepen. When you now we're turning the switch on, feeling connected with Krishna, switching it off with the forgetfulness. And so that connection and attraction to his qualities can't take root and grow unless we have that. And Prabhupada says that thing carries all the way into rasa. So it doesn't become a prominent part any longer, but it's a foundational part. So it seems simple. Yeah, Krishna is everywhere, but the application is more profound, and it's very, very important for us if we want to have a chance to attain deep love for Krishna. All right, so that's our time is up. We have your comments and questions. Thank you for your kind attention.
Giri Govardhan Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you very much. Wonderful class. Temple room, is that a raised hand? Adipusha Prabhu?
Can you hear us okay?
A little soft.
You can hear us? Hello?
That's better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, such a profound subject matter. And in one sense, talking about it, I don't want to say dulls comparing talking about it to experiencing it, right?
Yeah. So,
Talking about love or talking about cheesecake is different than eating it,
oh
right?
yes.
Loving someone is like beyond, so far beyond words and reason and our intellect. So it's like, it's kind of frustrating to talk about it because it's such a wonderful subject matter. And that paradigm shift from being intimately loving Krishna as a child or as a paramour to seeing Krishna as God, it's just painful to think about it, right?
Yes.
I have paradigm shift. I'm trying to think of a paradigm shift that I've experienced. It's it's nice, because you're getting a broader look at things, but still, it's just kind of awkward. Oh, okay. Um, Doing Sankirtan, distributing books. Actually, Nanda Bihari was asking a question about this the other day, and we never got to it. He was saying, "Do you think when you're asking somebody for a donation, is there some condescension there that you think you're better than them?" Right?
Hmm.
That's an interesting question. Do you think you're better than them because you're engaging in Krishna and you're trying to share it with them? And then, and we do think like that. We're out there to save the world. We're out there to save the people. We're out there to rescue them, and that's one mood. But then that idea that we're better than them is bitter and weird. I don't think so pleasing to Krishna, as far as I know. So when we shift paradigm shift to I'm doing this because my spiritual master asked me to do it. I'm doing this as an offering to my guru. I'm doing this for my own purification, to become humble, actually, uh, not so much because I'm better than you, but it's my medicine. It's my, um, it's something that um, I've been asked to do. That's why I do it. I'm trying to please my guru. I'm not trying. You see that as a paradigm shift?
Yeah.
From thinking that I'm saving the world. These guys are ignorant and I'm enlightened to, no. And actually it says that on the highest platform, we actually realize everybody's better than me. Minister went out and he said, go find somebody who's better than you. And he came back after the whole day. I said, couldn't find anybody better than me. So it's interesting to remember that paradigm shift of that we're not so great. And the phenomena of a paradigm shift is what this whole section is about. Flipping back and forth from being Krishna's lover to realizing that he's the supreme Lord. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't bear it. I actually don't want to talk about it. Let me just be quiet. But it is awkward. Go on, please.
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami talked a lot about that. Well, maybe you may have to mute your microphone, I think. But he talked about the attitude we have if we're trying to help others, and like you said at the end, we shouldn't feel like we're better than anybody else. In fact, we should feel that it's a privilege, because the fact that we're able to do it, that we're able to be of service to others, is because we've received the priceless, undeserved gift of bhakti from others. Right? It's not that due to any credit of our own, but we somehow embraced this free, priceless gift. And all these other souls are dear to Krishna. And so if we can do some service for them, it's actually helpful to us. And so instead of feeling like we're doing a good deed, we should feel that's a privilege to be able to do anything. And I think that's really helpful.
We were watching Bhakti Shesha Prabhu doing the book distribution, and he was talking to one gentleman, and sincerely, not just as a line, he said to the person, "We're very honored. We were actually honored to meet you. The world should have. We wish the world had more people like you." You know, I was like, so nice. You know, different from being arrogant, thinking holier than thou, which is like weird. This is it's pride and twisted and not very pleasing to Krishna.
Thank you, Adibhusha Prabhu. Okay, Min, followed by Gail. Please.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the class. I have a question in regards to the fear that we feel that you've spoken about. Before I came to Krishna consciousness, I didn't even know that I was living in fear constantly. Just had this like low level, if not high level anxiety all the time. But when Krishna came into my life, that sort of went away, and I was just kind of like very happy that I found this person. But not too long ago, I felt that I needed to get really serious about my japa and see that I should do it. And I tried and tried. And it was so difficult to just sit down and pay attention. And it was just really, really making me feel terrible. And I recognized that the one of the reasons, or maybe the biggest reason I couldn't do it, was because my heart is just so dark that I'm just so covered over. And at that moment, I got so scared, just so scared. And I felt like, oh my God, like I felt this chasm between me and Krishna. Could you speak to how we could sort of bring ourselves to a place where we could see Krishna or God in this loving relationship at that moment where we feel so far away from Krishna, and in also relation to our sadhana, because the spontaneous feeling of like wanting to loving Krishna, it's you can't produce it.
Sure.
So could you speak to uh, I just feel like I'm missing something.
Well, that's a most amazing question. But the first thing I'll tell you is that that's our condition. Like when you felt that your heart is so dark, some of the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he quotes this verse from the Bhagavatam that says, like the heart is like stone or it's iron. So that's our condition now. And so it's I guess it's frightening in one sense, but you should know that this is normal. This is what everybody goes through. That's our condition. And we have to work through that. So this is not a disqualification for your bhakti. It's like this is a normal situation to be in because we have been feeling disconnected for so long. And so then it's hard for us to come out of ourselves, right? Because we haven't felt that connection. We haven't felt that support. We haven't felt that love. And so naturally the heart becomes hardened. But that can be removed. And it's not up to us to remove it necessarily. And that was the other thing. He said, how can I fight that? Right? That's a difficult thing. How can I fight that? Well, this is normal. And if we realize that bhakti is not something that can be earned, it's something that's given. And so a big part of reducing that blockage of the heart, the darkness and the hardness of it, is saying that, hey, I need this. This is a blessing that I need your help, Krishna. I'm helpless. That feeling of helplessness actually is a beautiful thing. You're thinking, oh, I can't ever do it. Therefore, it's hopeless for me to advance. The fact is, the relationship between us and Krishna, it's already on from Krishna's side. It's only broken from our side. So Krishna is not waiting for us to prove ourselves to him. He's waiting for him to say, yes, Krishna, I'm interested in you. I'm interested in you. Open the heart and say, Krishna, I need your help. I'm powerless to do this. I'm powerless to overcome all of these scars that I have on my heart. But you are so kind that you have the ability to help with that. So we invite Krishna in. We admit our helplessness. And so when we're chanting, we're not trying to, we're trying to pay attention, obviously, but we're not trying to have great japa that will cause me to deserve Krishna. It's not possible. So that's what it means to be humble. We feel like, wow, I am powerless. You had a deep insight into yourself that many of us don't have until a lot later as we try to qualify ourselves for Krishna. You realized your own helplessness. That's a beautiful realization, actually. And it opens the door for you right now to be able to say, Krishna, when I'm chanting, Prabhupada mentions that he had that little purport on chanting Hare Krishna on the album they made in 26-second emphasis. It's like a child calling out for his mother. It's the mood of chanting. Krishna, I can't do this. I want to be connected, but my heart is hard, and I don't have the power to do it, but you do. And so you create space for Krishna to come in and work. When we have the achievement mentality, oh, I can do this, I can get this done, I can perform this process, we're blocking off the heart to Krishna's mercy. We're saying, I got this, Krishna, no problem. But if we say, oh, Krishna, I'm helpless, then we create an opening in the heart for Krishna to come in because he respects our free will, our autonomy. So that realization can be channeled very easily into just asking Krishna for help. Here I am, I'm drowning in this ocean. Please help me, as you see fit, when you see fit, but I need your help. Yes, exactly, Jeffrey. It's not helplessness doesn't mean this is not low self-esteem, right? Because we at the same time we realize that we're loved by Krishna, right? We're loved. So therefore, where is there low self-esteem on that? It's a removal of pride, because again, Krishna is so extraordinary. Krishna is so wonderful. We can't earn him and deserve him. We can only reciprocate with him. And this gift that Krishna gives us it's absolutely undeservable. And it's a pre-gift from Krishna's heart. And so if we accept it in that way, becomes something. If we say, okay, Krishna, right now I'm not worthy, but I'm going to get worthy of your love. I'm going to become worthy. I'm going to be somebody. That's pride. No. I want to do this on my own, Daddy. It's like, okay. And Krishna's fine with that. He knows eventually we're going to come around. Say, well, maybe a little help. So if we just can say right now, hey, I'm a mess. I know about you. I'm interested in you, but I am a mess. Yeah, I could have been a contender. I'm a mess. And I know that you're so kind, you can help me. Even though I'm beyond help, you can help me. And then it's a beautiful power. If you just forcing one to chant, when there's no attraction. Oh, it's time for darshan. So let's do that.
Vedam Kvantam Bhara Vindadalaya Taksham Bhagavatam samasitam sundaranga Pandarbhako Hari Purusha Hari Purusha Hari Purusha Namaham Bhajami Tam Hari Purusha Namaham Bhajami Hari Purusha The only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. And bow down to His Lord's feet, great awe and reverence. By His grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering. Krishna. Consciousness purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. He opens my darkened eyes, fills my heart. He is my Lord. Destroy. The Vedic scriptures sing of this character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your wings. Jai.
Thank you, Janitai Prabhu. Welcome to the Afterglow. Janitai, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, you have a few minutes to stay over time?
Yeah, let me. There's a couple of questions, quick ones that were in the chat that I'd like to just hit quickly. There was one that said that what if I'm chanting and and I don't really feel like it, I don't have the same taste for it. Do I do it anyway? And what I say is it's natural that there's some fluctuation in our taste, and so there are going to be days when we're more into it and more when we're out. But if we find that that's a regular occurrence, that I'm forcing myself to chant, this is my duty, I don't really feel like it, that's an invitation to look inside and see why. Okay, remind yourself why you're doing it, what's blocking that right now. So just continuing to do it, because your attraction for it and your taste for it is part of the devotion. It's not just the chanting. And so if somehow that's going away on a very regular basis, then you got this is the invitation to go in and say, hey, what's with my
And
my
what could that be? What are some of the examples of that thing that needs to be addressed?
can be many different things. Maybe we haven't upgraded our feelings about Krishna. right? Because the devotional service, the devotional part is called anukulya, our feeling towards Krishna. And so when we have experiences, we should be upgrading that. When we understand Krishna, we should be upgrading that. Maybe there's been some offenses. Maybe we've acted, in some way we need to take a look at. Maybe it's, maybe we've gone through some trauma, and so that's, or we had something that's drawn us away from Krishna, some attraction. So these are things that we can examine, and that goes into Manohar's question, like, what if we have something that attracts us away from Krishna? Do we avoid that? And we have to be wise, right? And so if something is really, if we don't see that as being part of Krishna and it's drawing us away from Krishna consciousness, we may have to use some discretion there. At the same time, we have to examine that desire. And see how does that desire hold up if we can understand that we're connected and loved by Krishna right now, and we're also supported and protected by him right now. Can that desire begin to diminish? So yeah, we don't want to put ourselves unnecessarily in harm's way, but we do want to begin to digest these things. Okay, so I think Gail was up, I think, next.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. My God, you always speak to my heart. And I'm so glad that Mint asked that question. I don't know what to I don't know what to ask first here, because actually your talk about causeless love was such a super soul experience, because just yesterday I was grilling somebody on this very subject. So I don't know what to ask first, but since we were talking about this helplessness that we're supposed to approach Krishna with, and Jeffrey in the chat, he also tried to address my concern, actually, is that, in the material world, we usually have this negative connotation with feeling helpless, and so it's like we question, why would Krishna want us to experience something that feels so negative to us, right? And I think you were basically saying that our chanting, and we can probably extend that to other services too. All of our services, whether it be chanting or other items of sadhana, are a way of asking Krishna to please grant us prema for him. No, would you say that?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. The feeling of helplessness is very painful and unpleasant when we are in a dangerous situation. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then it's like, man, this is not good.
Yeah, because we can't control the situation.
But our situation is that even though we're not sufficiently aware of it, that we are not in a dangerous situation. We are in the loving arms of Krishna. And so in that, because when a baby feels helpless in the mother's arms, it's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's actually our situation. And so our feeling of being able to do something, that's a reaction against being in a dangerous situation. We think, okay, I can do something about that. I can do something about that. I feel okay. I don't feel so terrified, right? I don't feel so terrified. But we actually don't need to be terrified. We're surrounded by Krishna and his love. And so the more we can feel helpless, the more we're open to that. Otherwise we're like, no, I got this. I'm fine. I don't need help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to help us in bhakti, because we're trying to fight, the power of Krishna's illusion. Right? So I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to get out of illusion myself. Well, good luck. We've all tried it. The success rate's not very high. So we actually are safe. If we realize we're safe and protected and loved, then it's much easier for us to say, hey, Krishna, just help me out of this, will you please?
Okay, so you're saying that our helplessness is we're trying to connect with the fact that we're actually being cradled by Krishna already.
Yeah, and we're asking, look, I'm already safe, so helplessness is not a problem, right? Because I'm safe, and then I need to feel that to understand the real thing in order to be open for Krishna's mercy to take effect on me. Otherwise, I'm saying I can do it myself, Krishna, and Krishna listens to that. He says, okay, do it. But if I say, look, I'm here, I'm stuck in this, in this ocean of material, of the material energy, and I don't have the power to defeat Maya, but you
So,
do.
so I'm trying to connect Krishna with the fact that I I'm trying to connect with the fact that I am safe
Yeah,
by
exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm safe, but if I want to be connected with Krishna, I need help. I need his help to do it. He's offering it, and now I have to accept it. I have to open my arms and say, yes, Krishna. And I can't, if I say, okay, Krishna, okay, great, I've got the mantra now, I've got the sadhana now, I'll meet you in Goloka. I don't need you right now. That's what we're doing when we're feeling we're not helpless. We're saying, hey, I got this. I'm chanting pretty good. I'm doing some service. I'm learning all these things. I'm going to get myself, I'm going to climb the big ladder up to Goloka. But actually, it's the helplessness and the willingness to believe that this is a gift that's beyond my capacity, and to get free from material energy is something that's beyond my capacity. When Krishna is ready and willing to help, he says so many different ways. He's residing in the heart and removes, the attachment for material things from there. He's the lamp of knowledge in the heart. He helps. He's proactive if we allow him. But if we think I got this, then he says, okay, go ahead, try. So the helplessness is beautiful. It's beautiful because we're protected. So it's not the same way as when I feel helpless in a dangerous situation, but I feel helpless in a wonderful situation. But I need to feel that helplessness. Otherwise, Krishna can't enter fully into the equation and give us his grace and mercy and guidance as much as he would like.
Yeah. No,
and as we need, it's not as much as he would like and what we really need.
Yeah.
We need to face that fact. We need it. We are mercy cases.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very helpful when you said we're not helpless in a dangerous situation. We're helpless in a very affectionate and caring parental situation. Right. Yeah. So
Beautiful disaster, Jeffrey Heckler says.
Yes, it is. It is. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I wonder if I can sneak in my super soul experience question about causeless love.
Okay.
Yeah. So my problem is that I've heard that, causeless love means that not only do you not want anything materially or selfishly in return for whatever service you do for Krishna, but you don't even depend on any of Krishna's qualities to have that love for Krishna and to be inspired to please him. You just love Krishna.
You're inspired by his all attractiveness, actually. But and we cannot at our current position have that's what it means, causeless. Prabhupada actually explained it there in one of the quotations I had, that you're just attracted by his good qualities, and automatically you want to do something for him. Automatically it comes. It's like Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, it's just without any intermediate of the mind. We don't have that yet. Okay, we cannot do unalloyed devotional service right now. In fact, the only people that do it on 100% are the residents of Vrindavan. That's Prabhupada mentions that in the quote on the Jai Radha Madhava. He said that if somebody knows that Krishna is God and is worshiping them because he's God, that's also a motivation. So for us, we have to worship Krishna for the reason we're doing it. We have to be authentic. All right, we have to be authentic. And by our further connection with Krishna, then our devotion becomes more purified. But even the people that come that have a motivation, a material motivation, yeah, it's not the highest thing. But Prabhupada says, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it says that sometimes then Krishna gives you your desires, and then you start worshiping him on a higher level. So right now we have motivations, whether it's Krishna being God or whether it's desires. We are mixed. And that description there is of Uttama Bhakti, the highest ultimate bhakti. We're not on that level. We need to start from where we are, be authentic and real, and approach Krishna in that way. And then our affection for Krishna deepens, and that becomes more purified. So it's not something we can just do out of the box. Okay, I'm going to have no motivation. I don't. I tell you, even if you think you don't have any motivation there, it's because you're thinking, I want to be the best devotee.
Mhm.
In the background, I guarantee you, if you look into
Mhm.
the ego, there's at least that there. I
Mhm.
don't want to be, I want to be the best devotee, not
Mhm.
for Krishna's pleasure necessarily, but for this mine. I want to be the best. You know,
Mhm.
I don't want to be second-rate bhakti. So there's, if nothing else, there's usually some ego hiding back in this. We have to be real with ourselves. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
and we are aware of what the goal is, and aware of how people who have that purity, how they feel. That's interesting. It's important for us to know that, but we have to know where we are. We can't pretend.
Right.
Pretending isn't going to fool us. It's not going to fool Krishna.
Yeah. You got to start from where you are.
What's the next step? Here we are. What is our next step towards that goal? Not
Mhm.
that, okay, now I'm a pure devotee. And it's like, well, I mean, I hope so, but it usually doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Well, thank you immensely, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
My sweet Lord, I really want to fool you.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
That was a very sweet interjection, Krishna Kumari. Thank you. Bhima Prabhu had his hand up. Very quickly, Bhima Prabhu, we are over time.
That's okay, Prabhu. I don't really have much to say except we should call into remembrance the story of Draupadi, and remember, even her
Yeah.
own husbands and Yudhisthira betrayed her, were unable to help her, and Krishna brought her to that point. I'm walking really fast across the field. Brought her to the point whereby even her own self was not someone who could save her. And if we think that this life is about having a suffering free life, we're sadly mistaken, because we have been told that through suffering we awake. And you do have to suffer. It's not just pain. You do have to suffer, because ultimately we're holding on to something, just like Draupadi hanging on to her sari. So that's the nature of the material world. That's the nature of what happened to Gajendra. You know, he had the alligator around his leg, and none of all of his she elephants, nor children, nor anyone else could help him. And we have so many pastimes. Prahlad Maharaj, even his sister turned against him. So we have this as our example, and we must pay close attention that we have to get ready. We have to prepare, and we have to accept the fact that Krishna's going to keep throwing it at us. And he's going to keep throwing it at us until we stop flinching. Hare Krishna.
And that's actually medicine for us. Sometimes the medicine doesn't taste so sweet, you know. And he doesn't always give us the spoonful of sugar with it, but Krishna always acts for our benefit. And that's sometimes something that's difficult for us to digest, because we're expecting him to do something a little different. But he's the one who knows us the best. He knows what we need the most. So
Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. Okay, time is up. Thank you very much for your association today. Let's see. Dana Kelly Prabhu, please unmute yourself and say Hare Krishna. You'll be the finisher today, Dana Kelly Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Perfect. That was so sweet. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Giri Govardhan Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jeffrey the Beautiful